Hey everyone, it's Andrzej on Software. Today I came up with a new name for an existing technique that I was suggesting over the last few years in regards to applying domain-driven design or event sourcing or event-driven architecture to existing Rails applications or existing applications overall. Nothing specific about Rails here. And the idea is that when you start a new application and you already know how to do events, you already know how to do event-driven architecture, or you know how to do event sourcing, then from a technical perspective, it's quite easy overall. You just add new feature, all is event-driven from the beginning. It's a bit more complicated in the case of existing applications, because you don't have events in existing application. So building any new feature for an existing application is hard because you are missing many events that you would like to have before you decide that you can build this feature with the being fully event driven. And the feature can be, for example, a read model or improving performance, for example, of a read model. So improving performance of reading a report, or it can be also a feature where you change the business logic. Still, the problem is you don't have those events. And the technique I'm talking about is that it's unintuitive, and that's why I think it's more a discipline than something that you do by intuition. It's probably similar to writing tests. It's also a discipline of writing tests. It doesn't come with intuition at the beginning. So the idea is that when you work on an existing system and you want to go event-driven at some point, you would like to be there. That's kind of your goal at some point. If it's not, then okay, but let's assume it is. And then if you're working on a feature, and even though you know how to do it, how to finish the feature without being event-driven here, and it's easy, maybe it's quick, then you do it this way. You don't do it the event-driven way, but you also add publishing events to the existing code where you are, even though you are not going to use it yet. So it's in a way, it's unused code. It's a dead code. It's almost like it serves maybe more as a logging in this application for now. So you publish an event. For example, you've just changed the registration procedure, and there was you can find the clear moment in time. Let's say it's a service object, application service, or aggregate. You found a moment in time where you can clearly say the user was registered. So you publish user registered event and you add some attributes to that. Maybe just user ID is enough. You're not using it yet, but if you do it regularly, like every day, every feature, every week, then after a year, you probably have like 100 of existing events in your application. And 1 year from now, you will thank yourself from the past that you did that, because then you realize that for the new features, you can use the events. And this means that you're systematically building the event coverage. And I call this technique the event scout rule, because it's familiar to the scout rule that I hope many programmers are familiar with. The scout rule says leave the code which you have touched or even just read, or even just looked at. Leave the code a little bit better. So improve the naming, maybe improve the structure, maybe just make some small refactorings, maybe extract some new methods, maybe extract a small class. So you don't do huge change, but the next person will have a slightly easier life. Maybe it will be you in 1 month from now. And that's the same with events. So always leave the place with more events so that one day you can benefit from that, you or some other colleagues. It's a hard technique, it's a discipline. It may not make sense at the beginning because you don't see the benefit yet, but so far as to my knowledge, it's the only technique that can bring us to the situation where one day we can say, oh, I actually have all of the events ready, or almost all. So I'll just add the 3 missing events now as part of the feature, and now this will be the first feature to be built fully in the event-driven way. So that's kind of the goal, and it will not build, the events will not add themselves, right? You have to add them, even though people will not see the benefit at the beginning. Maybe it will be hard at the code review, but still, it's just adding one line of code in certain places, maybe passing the dependency to event store or event bus in some places. So maybe it's a little bit more. So maybe there is a little bit of human factor to discuss this. Why are you doing this? But once you do it like once and people can see the value, then there should be like no discussion later on, and you can do it like every day, every week, every month. And maybe I said the future in 1 year, maybe it will be just super like much faster. So if you are working in one area for most of the time, then maybe in 1 month's time you will be able to benefit from those events. So maybe it's actually it's also a short-term benefit as well. I hope you like this technique. Let me know on Twitter or on Facebook what you think about that. And happy event publishing. See you later.